Tonight on The Buzz, we're in London at the BVE trade show in the KitPlus booth. And we're going to spend the evening taking a look at media inside the UK. Our first guest is Daniel Sacchelli. He is the event director for BVE and London Entertainment Week. And we'll examine what the show is and why we're all here in the first place. Then we'll talk with Simon Tillyer, the managing director of KitPlus, a publisher and broadcaster, taking a look at his perspective of media from the point of view of somebody that's been covering it for more than 10 years. Then we'll talk with Rex Palmer. He's a freelance lighting cameraman, looking at where the industry has changed over the last 10 years and where he thinks the industry is going. All of this tonight on The Buzz, and The Buzz starts now.
Digital Production Buzz is brought to you by Otherworld Computing at MacSales.com and by ImagineProducts.com, the workflow experts.
Since the dawn of digital filmmaking,
authoritative,
one show serves a worldwide network of media professionals,
current,
uniting industry experts,
production,
filmmakers,
post-production,
and content creators around the planet.
Distribution.
From the media capital of the world in Los Angeles, California, the Digital Production Buzz goes live now.
And welcome to the Digital Production Buzz, the world's longest running podcast for the creative content industry, covering media production, post-production, and marketing around the world. Mike Horton has the night off, and that's because we're in London at the BVE trade show in the KitPlus booth. Well, actually the KitPlus studio. Actually the KitPlus studio right in the middle of the trade show floor, which you may not have noticed and probably haven't heard because of all the noise coming through my mic. I'm really excited to be in London to be able to cover the show because we're going to be talking about media outside the US, specifically in the UK. And we're going to be looking at it from three different perspectives, from the point of view of a trade show, a publishing company, and a freelance lighting cameraman. And being able to look at all these different points of view, I think is going to make for a really interesting show. Also, before we start, I want to remind you to subscribe to our free weekly show newsletter at digitalproductionbuzz.com. Every issue, every week, gives you an inside look at the Buzz, quick links to all the different segments on the show, and curated articles of special interest to filmmakers. And best of all, every issue is free. I'll be back with Daniel Sacchelli right after this.
Still to come on The Buzz.
When you're working with media, one thing is essential. Your computer needs peak performance. However, when it comes to upgrading your Mac, there are so many different options to choose from that the process can be confusing. That's why Otherworld Computing carries the best upgrades that lets your computer performance and storage grow as your needs grow. Since 1988, OWC has become one of the most trusted names in quality hardware and comprehensive support to the worldwide computer industry. With an extensive online catalog of Mac, iPhone, and iPad enhancement products, as well as a dedicated team of knowledgeable experts providing first-rate tech support, OWC has everything you need to take your current system to the next level. Whether you need to maximize your system's memory, add blazing speed, or enhance reliability, look no further than the friendly experts at OWC. Learn more by visiting MacSales.com today. That's MacSales.com.
Daniel Sacchelli is the event manager at BVE. And I wanted to start our conversation about media and entertainment in the UK with Daniel because he's got a really good perspective on what's happening because this whole show is his responsibility. Hello, Daniel. Thanks for being with us.
Always a pleasure.
How would you describe BVE?
How would I describe BVE? BVE now is the hub for the entire media and entertainment industry here in the UK.
Now, what does that mean, the entire media industry?
certainly the concept for this year and going forward is to take BVE from where it used to be, which was very much a strictly UK-focused production and broadcast show, lots of cameras, editing suites, etc., and acknowledging the convergence of technologies and the way the industry is shifting to make the scope of the show a lot broader.
How has the show evolved? Because I remember back years ago, it was just focused on broadcast.
Right.
But now, there's much more than broadcast here at the show.
There is, yes. I mean, if you go back to the Earl's Court days, that was very much the case. Still a very well-respected show and attended by a faithful following. I think since we've moved over to Excel, purpose-built exhibition centre, very suitable for a high-end technology event like BVE. And over recent years, we've seen, as I said, the convergence of technologies. It's become logical that BVE shouldn't just be focused solely on broadcast and production, but should encompass these other areas and these relevant industries that cross over very neatly with BVE, namely AV, live entertainment technology, streaming technology, all of which now play a part for the bigger picture.
Well, I think what that also does is it opens up the market of people that want to attend the show, because there's a whole lot more gear that's relevant to what they're doing that a broadcaster may not be interested in, but an independent filmmaker would.
Absolutely. It opens up the market for potential exhibitors who potentially in the past have not seen BVE as a show for them because they thought it was just attended by broadcasters and production companies. But now they see a lot more software, a lot more services, and a lot more organizations offering products and services that are outside of the traditional broadcast spectrum. And then as we see those exhibitors start to come, people start to acknowledge the fact that there is more to see than previously there had been in recent years. And I think that's the only way it's going to go, and the show is continuing to grow. And it's continuing to grow not just in size, but in stature, and with its reputation in the industry is growing as well.
Last year, I remember we had close to 15,000 people attend. So, I mean, it's a fairly large show. How would you describe who attends? Who are the people that are coming?
Well, that's been one of the major shifts, I guess, in recent years, certainly since we've moved to Excel. If we discount for 1 second the core BVE audience, which are always going to be our most important group, the broadcasters, the production companies, the DOPs, the camera operators, people from the television and film show floor, then we look at the sorts of organizations that now attend BVE alongside them, and they are shopping centers, retailers, fixed installations like airports and these sorts of guys, the major banks. I mean, every major bank from the city down the road have pre-registered to attend BVE, and I think that's due to the partners we're now working with, like the AV user group, like Infocom, who are an education partner, so they're providing educational content. The Streaming Media Conference, which is co-located at the show, is starting to encourage these visitors from outside that traditional spectrum to now come to BVE. So it's a very interesting mix.
I was just looking at your business card and looking at the logos, and they talk about BVE and London Entertainment Week.
Yes, indeed, yeah.
Is London Entertainment Week a show, an event, or what is it?
So London Entertainment Week was launched this day last year. On site at the show, we announced our intentions to the industry to launch London Entertainment Week. The idea being to create a week-long series of events that addresses the wider media and entertainment industry, an all-encompassing event with BVE at the heart of the week. So co-located events, awards, ceremonies. So last night kicked off London Entertainment Week officially with the TPI Awards. So TPI is a magazine by the publisher Mondial. Amongst other magazines, they publish TPI, and they have a very prestigious event for celebrating the technical expertise of live entertainment production, so concerts and touring, theatre and performing arts. And that kicked off London Entertainment Week. And then along with the co-located conferences, we've got various user group meetings and other co-located fringe activity. We're starting to build this series of events that it makes the show more all-encompassing, but still remaining BVE with this 3-day show, so that we don't dilute the core. Everything we're doing with London Entertainment Week is to add benefit to our current exhibitors, as well as welcoming people from different areas.
I can see the benefit to these other shows of associating with BVE, because BVE is well known, it attracts a large audience. But what's the benefit to BVE of being associated with these other events?
So if we take the Streaming Forum conference, for example, that's a very high-level, technical, 2-day paid-for conference that usually happens in central London. By working with the organizers of that event and hosting that event here, it's a 2-day paid-for conference on the gallery level, just above the show. Their sponsors, of which there are 8 main sponsors of Streaming Forum 2016, rather than just having a tabletop outside the conference room that you would usually expect, they get a stand on the BVE show floor. So as well as being exposed to the 200, 250 delegates that go to the conference, they're exposed to the thousands of people that come to BVE as well. Everything we're doing shifts this perception of BVE into something far greater. Anything that we can do that brings new buyers to the show that are potentially going to be of interest to our current supporters is an absolute benefit.
You've already mentioned the fact that BVE is growing from its original broadcast roots into a much broader show. What are some of the new exhibitors that you're seeing? What are some of the new trends that are coming to the show that weren't there a couple years ago?
So, I mean, for the very first time this year, as part of London Entertainment Week, we've got an AV and live entertainment theatre. So, on the show floor, we have a cinematography and lighting theatre, production theatre, post-production and workflow, the screen, which is essentially our keynote theatre where we're holding a lot of our fantastic content. And this year we've added an AV and live entertainment theatre to produce 3 days worth of seminar content specifically for that sector. Gives that industry the security that BVE is actually investing in the industry. It's doing what we can to drive relevant buyers to the show that are going to be interested in the content. And it sits very neatly alongside the AV and Live Entertainment Zone, which is a new zone of exhibitors that are now joining the show for the first time.
With the new exhibitors, what part of the market have you seen as expanding? What I'm looking at is looking at the UK. What part is growing? Because we've seen that the broadcast is under a lot of pressure. Where are you seeing other opportunities and other companies, and what part of the industry is showing growth?
We're seeing, personally from an anecdotal point of view, what I'm seeing, the way our exhibitors are spending money, there's always pressure on budgets, and that's never going to change. People are always looking for different ways to spread their investment across the show. So what we're seeing now is, very large manufacturers taking their stand space, but also looking for additional meeting facilities, additional branding opportunities to try and have a very focused way of meeting the right buyer. Because it's great, you bring 15,000 people through the door, a portion of those are going to be relevant to you. So we want to try and find ways that we can deliver a more focused buyer to you. We're also seeing a lot more software as a service at the show. It's not just a kit show now. Some of our largest stands are Aspera, an IBM company, Pixit Media, Quantum, these sorts of guys that are starting to invest very significantly in BVE. And it's not just a camera show anymore. It's a very serious business critical event for the media industry.
One of the other things that I saw first at BVE that I'm now seeing at other conferences is the whole idea of integrating the conference on the trade show floor rather than having it being separate in the facility.
Yeah.
What was the reasoning behind integrating conferences in the first place? And then second, I want to talk about what some of the conference subjects are.
Okay, so the idea behind integrating the seminar content, you'll go to some larger events that hold their conferences separately in a separate facility, and that's absolutely fine. Those people are going to spend days accessing very high level content at a paid for conference. By making it, first of all, free to attend, we encourage significant numbers of the whole spectrum of people that are involved in taking content from creation to consumption. By building those theatres on the show floor instead of hosting them in a separate conference facility, what you do for your exhibitors and your supporters is you bring the people there by attracting them with the content, but as soon as those sessions are finished, as soon as the post-production theatre finishes, those buyers are back on the show floor interacting with and testing and comparing products, and that's what our exhibitors want to see.
So for you, the important part is the building of conversations between what they learn in a conference and then talking to the actual
100%.
exhibitors?
They're going to come out of a conference session after hearing something new, something innovative, and they're going to walk over to a camera manufacturer or a service provider and say, right, this is what I'm interested in, how can you help me solve that problem?
What are some of your more popular conferences? What are you keynoting this year?
I mean, just walking around the show, the show this afternoon, cinematography and lighting theatre is core BVE, and it is absolutely packed. It's standing room only and has been all day, which is great. Same can be said for the post-production theatre. One very interesting one is the AV and Live theatre because it's brand new. And although there will be a certain level of interest from core BVE visitors about what exactly are we talking about in AV and Live, there's also those new visitors that have never been to BVE before.
One of the big challenges is trying to get people to show up at a trade show.
Sure
and
is.
I know that is no small worry of yours as well. What is it that gets people to come to a trade show, especially in the age of the internet when so much information is available online?
Well, you have to keep evolving, first of all. We do extensive visitor and exhibitor research, pre-show, post-show. What do you want to see at the show? What didn't work so well? Who did you expect to see at the show? You know, are there any new buyer groups that are of importance to you? What other shows do you do and why do you do them? So we do really deep analytical work for exhibitors and visitors. Actually getting them to the show, we're an annual event, so we have a 365-day marketing campaign that's very focused, sending the right messages to the right visitors, making sure that they know that there are things for them at the show, and enough to keep them at the show, and to bring them back for multiple days, because what we're seeing now is, we moved to Excel, we knew that people that came would stay longer, but now what we're seeing are people are actually staying are coming back for multiple days as well, because there are more product launches on the show floor, there is more content, and the show is growing in size and in stature, so there's more to see for people to keep returning.
You're surrounded by exhibitors, you've got thousands of people showing up, everybody's having a good time. What are you going to do next year to make the show better?
Well, so it was the big change this year was adding the AV and Live zone and everything associated with London Entertainment Week. Next year is London Entertainment Week Phase 2, so it's adding more co-located events, and we'll be announcing those very soon. We've got co-located conferences, training sessions, some fantastic, really exciting and innovative ideas to bring to BVE, to just create it into something that's more than just a trade show. But certainly in the coming weeks and post-show, we'll be announcing all of our plans.
It's fun to look around the show and see the difference, the wealth of information that's here, and the variety of exhibitors, and the people that weren't here last year that are new this year and getting a chance to get exposed to new technology. What is it that gets you the most excited about working on shows like this? Is it the marketing? Is it the conferences? What's the fun part?
For me, it's the actual event. So I said this is an annual event, so we put a lot of work in from the day the show closes. We're already working on 2017. We've already drawn the floor plan for 2017. We've already got our plans for what the content's going to be, or the framework of it. But you can't beat this 3 days, or 4 days including build-up, where it's pretty unique no matter what industry you work in. If you work in events, there's 300 clients here, and for 4 days, they're all in the same room, which is very unique. Has its own set of challenges in a way, but it's really exciting, and it's what keeps me coming back for more. Because all year you're just building up to how you can beat the year before and create new experiences and get more people through the door. So it's something I very much enjoy.
No small amount of pressure. Much better for you than for me, I think. Congratulations. Where can people go on the web to learn more about what BVE is about?
You can hit the BVE website, which is bveexpo.com. So bvexpo.com. And the Twitter hashtag is #BVE16.
That's all one word, BVEXPO, bvexpo.com, and Daniel Sacchelli is the event manager for BVE and London Entertainment Week. Daniel, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you, Larry.
Still to come on the Buzz.
Imagine Products has been specializing in workflow applications for over 25 years. They started with Executive Producer back in 1991, an all-in-one logging and offline editing tool. In 2006, ImageMine was used in the Salt Lake City Winter Olympics, and ShotPut Pro was released. Today, there are more than 30,000 ShotPut Pro users worldwide. Pre-Roll Post for Macintosh was released in 2012. This is an LTFS archiving application compatible with any LTO tape drive, as well as Sony's ODA. Pre-Roll Post for Windows was released at the end of 2015. It's the only LTFS archiving application of its kind for less than $500. Imagine Products has 3 simple goals for its software: make it powerful, make it easy to use, and make it affordable. It's easy to see why Imagine Products has been successful for 25 years. Imagine what comes next. Visit imagineproducts.com to download a demo.
We've had a chance to take a look at the trade show side of media, but I want to shift gears and look at a company that covers it from a publishing and media marketing point of view. And I'm delighted to introduce Simon Tillyer. He's the managing director of TV Bay. And Simon, thanks for joining us today.
Pleasure, Larry.
Explain to me what TV Bay is, because I'm sitting in a KitPlus booth. So help me understand the disconnect here.
Okay, so TV Bay was originally founded some 12 years ago, in a time when the internet was, the search engines were in their infancy. You had about a dozen search engines to choose from. Seems hard to imagine now with Google. And we noticed a gap in the market where video equipment was quite hard to buy and sell unless you were part exchanging it. So we developed a website called TV Bay, where people could go on, advertise their kit for sale, and a classified listing site. And we were constantly battling with search engine algorithms to get the site found, and even today, roughly 80% of our traffic comes from search engines. So we were sort of building a business based on search engines, really, and they changed their mind and our business disappears. So we decided to do a printed magazine, and the printed magazine was a monthly export of all the kit that had been added on TV Bay that month. So it's about 20 pages, and it grew and grew, added some news, added some reviews from your good self as well, articles, and it's been about 100 pages now for the last 8 years. So we've done 110 issues. And we sort of realised as we're going along, the word TV Bay has just been something that we'd happened across back in 2004. And we do so much more than TV stuff, and we were pigeonholing ourselves into that name, and we just wanted to change. The big, and we started doing different things as well. We were doing studio stuff like we're doing here at BVE, video production stuff we were doing. We were doing our own live shows similar to your BuZZ, not as good as your BuZZ show, of course, but we were doing our own things like that. And we felt we needed a rebrand. The heart of everything we do is kit-based. It's all about the equipment. We're not really interested in people moving companies, doesn't really interest us. What we're really interested in is the equipment. So Kit was a good name, and we do lots of other things. KitPlus came about. So we've sort of merged from TV Bay into KitPlus. Some people still know us as TV Bay. It's going to take a while for that brand to slowly go down.
So do I look at you and think KitPlus, or do I look at you and think TV Bay?
KitPlus from now on, I think.
All right, KitPlus, I can do that.
Hence the KitPlus studio here at BVE.
So why are you at BVE? I mean, I'm incredibly grateful to you for sharing your studio with us. This is a huge treat, and we're delighted to be here. But why?
Okay, so we find everything we do in our business is based on marketing equipment and services offered within the broadcast and pro video industry. So our customers are basically all the exhibitors at BVE are our potential customers, people that support things we do. And at a show, what can a magazine really do at a show? I mean, you get 2 types of magazines. You have online magazines, you have printed magazines. And I think it's quite good to say we are a printed magazine that also has an online version as well. But either way, at a trade show, you can get your 3x2 booth, you can have magazines out. It's all pretty dull and boring. And we like to do something a little bit more upmarket from that. So for the last 4 or 5 BVEs here in London, we've set up a studio, and we get our customers who are our supporters of the magazine. They come on the show. We do roughly 6 30-minute shows a day. So we're doing 18 live shows over 3 days. We have a presenter sat in your chair normally, and she's interviewing guests. We have 4 chairs here, so we have panel guests, we have ones and twos, and they're talking about their new products, how the industry's going, and we're basically streaming out on the BVE homepage. So we are BVE TV, for want of a better word, and we work very closely with BVE in making sure the show works. They're very generous with their support of promoting it, and in return, hopefully, we give them a good quality stream for the 3 days.
As you've been planning the show, because I know you're also involved with the producing, as you're planning the show, what subjects seem to be the hottest, which have the greatest interest?
To be honest, today, most of the shows today have been a cloud-based technology was a big one. We had Playbox on this morning. Yeah. So Playbox were, they have a channel in the box which replaces the old machine control room effectively. And they were saying that when they came up with the concept of a channel in a box 10 years ago, they were just laughed at. How can you possibly replace these people putting VTs in VTRs? And their whole solution was a PC-based system where you automate a channel. And they've now taken that a step further, and they've made it a cloud playout system, so that instead of loading all your shows into your channel in the box, effectively, it's all uploaded to the cloud. They've partnered with Tata Communications so that you can upload your weeks-long schedule up to their cloud and play out automatically. So that was a big one today. We've also been chatting to G-Tech about the new archiving and storage options they've got. Who else have we had today? It's been a busy day.
Oh, I know.
It's been a busy day.
When I cover NAB, I have a hard time remembering what happened 15 minutes ago. But thinking about that, I'm looking backstage, which nobody can see because you've got this beautiful set that you've designed. But we're looking at 6 technical people and a whole raft of gear. How would you what gear are you using to do the show?
Well, if I talk about the people first, so KitPlus, TV Bay, whatever, it's a very small company. I don't know. They don't know who they work for. KitPlus is quite a small company. There's 6 of us, and when you put on a show like we're doing here, we've got something like 60 square meters, of studio space. And we've got an audio guy, we've got a vision mixer, we're checking the stream, we've got an editor, we've got crews going around the show, so we've got quite a lot of personnel. And I'm not sure whether you've come across Ravensbourne College at all. It's basically one of the UK's leading broadcast and media universities in this country. And we basically contact them every year at BVE. We contact them saying, look, we're doing the show, anybody fancy helping? And they're always very generous with their time. So we get 2nd and 3rd year students that have got a bit of experience. And to be honest, it's always good to see when they come along, they come along with such enthusiasm and also experience that they've picked up by doing their own projects. They haven't gone into Ravensbourne knowing nothing. They've gone in with quite a good level of understanding of the video industry. So we've got some really competent people vision mixing, on the sound desk, editing, and going around as camera crew, basically. We're using PTZ cameras here, so we've basically made 3 cameramen redundant by doing that, but they're being controlled as well on the desk. As far as the kit we're using, we're editing odd cutaways on Premiere Pro, just on a Mac. We've got a TriCaster, NewTek TriCaster, and we're using a pre-Sonos sound desk. The benefit with the TriCaster is we're able to, that could do the whole thing. It could take all the cameras in. We're using a pole cam that's just flown over my head. Pole cam, 3 cameras, and we've got 3 crews going around which are fitted with video sys wireless links. So anywhere in this hall with Wi-Fi signals going all over the place, the video sys links still give us a clean feed. So we can cut to anybody anywhere in the hall. So somebody can tweet in and say...
Live switching to the camera in the hall from here?
From here to 2 cameras, alternate. So the presenter here can have a conversation with our other presenter who's roaming the halls, and they can have a conversation, and we can switch between each one.
Now, how are you getting the cameras to communicate?
We're using RTS. I don't know the exact model, but RTS have loaned us a talkback system. One of the great things about our industry is everybody is so friendly, and everybody they just loan us equipment. We work with these guys, and RTS have loaned us 4 belt packs, so the guys roaming around can communicate. New Tech have loaned us the TriCaster. The cameras from Panasonic, the lights are from AC Lighting just over the way there, and they loan this stuff freely to us so that we can talk about it. I guess we can get them on the show to talk about it, and in the magazine we'll then write about it and give them as much promo as we can.
Thinking about all this technology and shifting back to your experience publishing the magazine, what new technology are you writing about and covering that seems to be increasingly that's hot? Where's the industry headed?
So we do. I mean, our magazine is probably not unique, but we have a simple formula with our magazine. So each month has a feature. So we've just done the acquisition feature, which is always one I really love, because you sometimes when you do a feature that's more focused on storage and archive, getting any images to go with that is a nightmare, and you end up with a very wordy magazine, which is a good read, but it's quite a hard read. With something like acquisition, it's very visual, obviously. So we've covered in this current issue, we've been covering stabilizing, which has been a very interesting one. We've covered, again, I think there's only 2 in the UK called Perfect Horizon, and they're a very high-level stabilizer that is mainly a boat-based device for filming boat races, high-speed races on rough seas, and it can hold a big broadcast camera perfectly stable no matter what weather it's on. And we're going to actually be testing that out in the coming months as well. We're going to be testing that against a handheld stabilizer. So that's been quite a good one. Drones are always good. There's always a lot of health and safety type of editorial around drones and how the legislation's changing. I'm guessing the legislation in America, are you more relaxed about it now, or are you finding the drone legislation in the States is...
No, we do have drone legislation, started December 22nd. So
okay.
You have to be registered, and your drone has to be registered as well.
Or you can't fly at all?
Well, you can fly as long as you don't charge for it. If you charge for it, you have to be licensed.
Sure, okay.
And you have to be a licensed pilot. So you can't just simply say, I'm a drone operator. You have to have a pilot's license before you can fly a drone, which is extremely interesting.
Yeah, and do you find that's cut down the amount of, I guess it must have cut down the amount of drone sales, or?
Well, no. The drones are still getting into trouble, but at least now we have ways of enforcing what happens. And it also leads to greater safety on set, because the people that are flying the drone know what they're doing.
Yeah, yeah. So I think over here we're still in this situation where you have to do basically a 4-day course, but you can see legislation tightening up on that going forwards, without a doubt.
You know, Simon, I was just thinking, you do a print magazine in the age of the internet. Is anybody interested in reading a print magazine?
Well, we had the discussion at NAB 2006 when we first decided to make the switch to print, and we were told, don't do it. Print's dead. It's of the past. And to us, that's like red rag to a bull. We've got to try it. And it's very satisfying because you get something through the post, you can hold it, you can feel it, you can pass it around. But we started to think, are we doing the right thing? Because the postage costs are going up. So we did a survey, and it was one of those surveys that you're afraid to push the send button because you don't want the wrong result. You don't want people to tell you what you don't want to hear. But we were actually staggered that 78% of our readers wanted to retain print.
78%?
Only 22% wanted to switch to digital only. To digital, and of that 22%, 10% wanted the both. And to me, I think print. I think it's going to go full circle, and the popularity in print's just coming back again because people just realised the limitations of online magazines. They're very restricted in the Google optimization, very hard to find online, and actually, if I've been reading or working online all day, do I really want to read stuff online again? Personally, and I think it's very personal. But we were staggered, as I say, but 78% wanted print.
So what do you have planned for future publications? What are you covering in the next 3 or 4 issues? How about next issue?
What's the next issue's? Next issue's quite a good one, actually. Well, all of them are great, but next issue is our NAB preview, which is always great to know what's going on in NAB. So there'll be a lot of news about new developments, and our news section is never feature specific, it's just news. So next one is archive and storage and archive, I think, from memory. So there'll be a lot of thoughts on there on where are you archiving to? Are you archiving locally?
I want to read that because we haven't figured that out at all at this point.
We're only just there. Well, maybe not even there. But again, it's the big, how many backups do you do? And do you archive to the cloud? It is the cloud. Yeah. Is it okay to just store one copy in the cloud? If you're archiving locally, you're going to probably archive 2 copies. Should you archive to a drive that after 3 years to 5 years might not power up again? So there's all this whole conundrum about, firstly, what do you back up to? Why are you backing it up anyway? How are you going to find it once you backed it up? So there'll be I'm sure there'll be editorial there on media asset management, actually finding that archive. After all, if you can't find it, there's no point in keeping it. And the whole cloud thing again, and the speed of getting it up there and the speed of retrieval. So yeah, that should be quite a good one. We just need to find some good pictures to go with it.
For people that want more information about the magazine and KitPlus in general, where do they go on the web?
Okay, so they can read our online version at www.kitplus.com/magazine. There you'll find a link that you can read the online magazine. Kitplus.com is just our landing page, and you'll see the kit for sale and whatever. And we have articles, we have news and events as well. So anybody wanting to see the videos that we've been making here at BVE can go onto the event page of BVE, and they'll see probably 100 or so videos there. And NAB as well. NAB. So we'll be at NAB in a few weeks' time almost, and we'll be trawling the halls there as well.
Very cool. Simon Tillyer is the managing director, actually one of 2 managing directors for KitPlus. The website is KitPlus.com. And Simon, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Larry.
Still to come on the Buzz. Welcome to Tech Talk.
Conforming a clip means to play a clip shot at one frame rate at a different frame rate within a project so that every frame in the original clip plays. For example, to play a clip shot at 120 frames per second at 24 frames per second in a project. Apple calls this setting an automatic speed setting. Now, this is done to achieve a very smooth, very high-quality slow-motion effect. So what we do is we shoot at a faster frame rate and play back at a lower frame rate, which gives us automatic slow motion with a really high quality with no stutter or choppiness. Here's how it works. Here's an example of we're back in Brazil and we've got our dancer dancing on the top of the train. All right, not bad. It would be nice if we could run this in slow motion and not have any jerkiness because we want people to stay in the movement of the dance. Select the clip, go to the Smurf menu, and notice this choice called automatic speed. What it's done, let me just go back a step here and show you how we got to where we are. If I select the project, Command-J, and open up the project settings, we see that this project is a 24 frame a second project. If I select the clip and go up to the Info tab in the inspector, I see it's a 60 frame a second clip. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play every frame. It's going to slow the clip down 40%. I'm going to play every frame in this clip and create a high-quality, stutter-free slow motion. Go to the Smurf menu, automatic speed. And now, look what's happened. No jitter, no choppiness, very smooth, clean images, no motion blur, exactly what we want. What I've done is I've simply played a clip back at the speed at which it was shot inside the timeline, which is at a different frame rate than a clip. NFL Films is legendary for doing this. When NFL Films is shooting football, and it was shooting film, it was always shooting film at 32 frames a second. It would then play that film back at 24 frames a second, slowing the clip by about 30%. And this gave us this beautiful balletic movement of very, very large men moving very, very quickly and violently on the football field. And yet this sense of grace and dance, because we were looking at this elegant slow motion, which gave us a chance to see what was going on much more clearly than we could see it by watching in real time. Well, let's just take a look here and do the same thing. Here is a snowboarder. Lovely shot. But wouldn't it be cool if we could slow it down? Well, it was shot at 29.97. It's playing back at 24. Select the clip, go to the Smurf menu, select automatic speed. It slows it down 20%. And notice now there's no jerkiness, there's no stutter, but it's much smoother, lovelier. It seems to hang longer. Very cool. In order to create this effect, you have to shoot in the camera at a faster frame rate than you plan to edit in your project. Then select the clip in your project and turn on automatic speed. At that point, you can then adjust it manually if you want, but if you start to drag the thumb to make it any other speed than the one that Final Cut sets, you're injecting choppiness again. The absolute smoothest setting is automatic speed, and don't make any speed changes.
We've had a chance to look at media in the UK from two perspectives. One is trade shows and the other is publishing. But now I want to go into the industry itself, and I want you to meet Rex Palmer, who is a lighting cameraman, has been working freelance in the UK for, well, let's just say more than a year or two. Hello, Rex, good to have you with us.
Good to be here.
How would you describe your background? What have you done?
Well, I started work at the BBC many years ago as a trainee cameraman. And one of the first programs that was my pleasure to work on, or to assist on, perhaps I should say, was Doctor Who, which I think is seen by many people around the world. So that was quite an experience, working on the first ever Doctor Who, which of course was shot in black and white. And the cameras we had in those days were rather large and heavy and difficult to move around. So they needed new young trainees like me to help move the cables so they didn't make noise as they moved around the studio.
Now, you describe yourself as a lighting cameraman, which is a term that we don't use in the States. What does that mean?
That means that I can also light my own work.
Would you consider yourself a director of photography?
That is a term that in the UK is used by film cameramen specifically. The term for television has always been lighting cameraman, just to distinguish the fact that the actual work we do is slightly different.
Do you prefer the lighting part of it or the camera part of it?
Nowadays, the camera part of it.
How come?
That's what I've ended up doing for the last 20 years. I've been actually working on covering the Formula One Championship all over the world.
What are some of the projects you've worked on recently?
Well, that's the main one that I've been doing, as I say, for the last 20 years. Before that, all sorts of sports in the UK. Started off in the studios in London with the BBC. And did all sorts of studio programs, whether it be light entertainment, like Morecambe and Wise, or doing the sports linking for the weekend sports shows, or doing drama, the various different plays for today. We had a series called Play for Today back in those days.
Well, with drama's got a script and we're following along what's going on. Sports is about as unscripted as it gets.
This is true.
So
It's a different discipline, yes.
What's the challenge? How do you manage to keep up with sport?
You rely a lot on the director, obviously. Whereas in the studio where you're doing a scripted program, you've got each cameraman has a list on his camera of all the shots that he's going to be taking with the shot description and position where it's got to be, whether it's a wide shot, tight shot, and so on. But when you're doing sports, you rely on, first of all, knowing the role of the particular camera that you might be doing. For example, Wimbledon tennis. Doing Wimbledon tennis, the standard when I started was to have 4 cameras around the court. We'd have the high wide shot, which was the overall picture of the court. Then you'd have a close-up over the server's shoulder from the same end as the high wide, and 2 side cameras looking at the players at each end. So you had to understand the role that each of those cameras did, and the director would expect you to know what you had to do at any given time. He would, of course, get you to change things. He'd call for a close-up or for a wider shot or whatever, so you were constantly being guided by the director as to what shot he wanted to use next. Although the format, you understood the format, so you knew more or less what was expected of you.
Of all the sports you cover, which one do you have the most fun with?
I did enjoy doing Wimbledon, but then you also got to do many of the Open Golf Championships as well, different parts of the country. So and seeing the scenery there, because they were nearly always seaside courses. So you got to enjoy nice weather. So often it was rather breezy, and if you were doing a camera up on a tower, on a platform, the people used to look at you very strangely because you'd be wearing a big heavy coat and maybe a hat as well, and the people on the ground down around you would be in their bikinis.
You describe yourself as a freelance rather than staff. Is
Yes.
most of the work freelance these days, or is most of the work staff?
No, most of the work now, especially in the UK, is freelance.
And
I was staff cameraman when I was at the BBC, obviously, because you're working in the studios and then on outside broadcasts. You were a staff and you worked with a crew of maybe half a dozen other people, along with the sound men, the engineers, making sure the pictures look right and all that sort of thing. And you went round as a team. But once that stops, you go freelance, then you're out on your own, you've got to find your own work. So that's the difference.
What part of the industry is shooting these days? Because in the States we're seeing that some industries are sort of cutting back and some outlets are increasing. Where's the market? What's the jobs today?
Live television is still live television. You can't get around that. So it is still there. The difficulty is knowing the right people that will give you the sort of work that you want to do. And that's where life becomes a bit more difficult. If you want to specialise in a particular thing, you've got to, first of all, somehow get a name for doing that sort of work, and then you get known, and then the work will then come to you.
We're seeing at the show, we're seeing a lot of robotic cameras, point and zoom cameras, which are replacing the traditional camera operator. Have they made much of an impact in terms of the work that you've been doing?
Not really, certainly not in something like major sports, because you can't have too many robotic cameras which then might fail and fall on the players, for example. So no, you don't get it so much. But the thing that really has changed is the size of the cameras getting smaller and the size of the lenses getting bigger. So you now get on most sports, you've got large zoom lenses which can be up to 100-to-1 range, which is phenomenal.
Unbelievable.
And when you're doing something like that, obviously you need some very stable camera mountings, because you don't want to be wobbling about trying to take a close-up of a car that's at the other end of the pit lane.
Well, I do remember back when I was starting out, I was working with turret lenses, so we had to shift from one because we didn't have the zoom.
Exactly,
and when the first zooms came out on the old RCA TK42s and TK43s, the camera and the pedestal and the lens weighed close to 1,000 pounds.
This is true, absolutely, yeah.
And getting that thing to start dollying was a real challenge.
And that's where one of our British companies, Vinton, came into their own, making superb camera pedestals which would balance the camera, and you could change the height and change direction all with one hand.
Yep.
So which made the work of the studio cameraman so much easier.
I do remember that I was dollying a camera at one point and I lost control of it and it crashed through the set, so I totally understand what you mean. The talent was a little worried as the camera got a little bit too close.
Exactly, yes.
When you're at the end of your career.
This is true.
I mean, you've still got 30 or 40 years left, but you're at the end of the career.
I don't think so.
What advice would you give to the kids that are starting out? What do they need to know to be a good camera person?
That is rather difficult nowadays, because the only way that the camera trainees come into the business is through media colleges. And a lot of the people that go to media colleges think they want to be directors rather than actual camera operators. And the skills obviously are very different. But we're very lucky in England, or in Great Britain I should say, that we do have a lot of very good media colleges producing lots of very good potential cameramen. And part of the Camera Guild, of which I am a member, is to encourage the media colleges to be involved in the training of the cameraman to do camera work, not just be a director. And there is an award scheme that runs in the UK where a particular student at a particular college or university will get an award for being the best of that year's bunch.
Now, you've mentioned the GTC, the Guild of Television Cameramen, which is where you and I first met a couple years ago.
Indeed.
Tell me more about what the Guild does. Is it just a union, or is it doing...
No,
you've touched on more of it, but expand on that.
It's not a union. That is the most... It is a guild, a camera guild. It is worldwide, although obviously it started and many of the members are based in the UK. But it's a worldwide organisation. We have agents all around the world. We have cameramen from Australia, China, America, of course, right across the States, Canada, all over the world. Though, as I say, the majority are, because of where it started, based in the UK. And it is, the role really is to try and maintain, and if possible, increase the standards of the camera work that the cameramen do all over the world.
How do you do it? I mean, because part of it is training, part of it is experience,
exactly,
and part of it is to want to do better.
Right.
So all of that, how do you build that? How do you foster that?
One of the ways we do, I mean, obviously, one of the things we have is a members forum online, where members can discuss with more experienced members problems they may be having trying to do a particular shot, or what's best sort of equipment to use for doing a particular thing. But one of the main things that the Guild does, which unfortunately is only in the UK, is we hold workshops which can cover a wide range of things, lighting being an obvious one, new camera developments is another one, or actual experienced operators telling about how they got round solving particular problems. And this is a way people learn, and then they obviously, at all these things, there's discussions afterwards, and people talk to one another and learn from the interaction they have.
I was just reflecting on how technology has changed over the years. From your point of view, how does technology affect storytelling?
In various ways. Obviously, one of the things is now that the cameras have got so much smaller and therefore so much lighter. that it's easy to take a camera into a small situation that you wouldn't necessarily otherwise have been able to do. But in terms of storytelling, it depends what the director, assuming you're not doing a self-shoot, what his ideas are as to how to achieve what he wants to do to tell the story. We're there to advise and make us suggestions as to how it would be best done with maybe a change of a piece of equipment, maybe using a particular camera mounting, a dolly that would give particular movement in a particular way. So that would be how we can assist the production to generate what they are trying to achieve with their end product.
One of the cameras are smaller and they're cheaper and they do more. And one of the things I've often wondered is whether art grows out of the boundary between what you want to do and what you can do. In that now our cameras can do so much that sometimes it's hard to focus on what we want to do because there's so many different opportunities for us.
Right.
Are we better off now when everything seems to want to do everything, or were we actually better off a while ago where we were more limited and forcing ourselves against boundaries?
We were probably a little better off a few years ago when there were limitations of what any one camera could do. And you would understand the limitations and you were able to work around it. Nowadays, the cameras seem to be able to do everything, but then you suddenly find that actually the color balance is wrong. Or the light changes and it still doesn't look right. So there's in a sense, there are almost too many variables now to keep it under control, especially if you're doing a multi-camera shoot. If you're doing a multi-camera shoot, you want to make sure that all the cameras looking at, say, a player on a football field or a baseball field in the States, that they all make the person they're looking at look the same color. Not too pasty, not too dark, depending on what they are. Or that the clothes look the same. Sometimes with modern cameras, with the sensitivity of the way the tubes of the chips are now designed, with a red, green and blue sensor, they're very narrow peak sensors. And if you've then got stadium lighting, which is also LED, the peaks are in slightly different places. So you can get, although the player appears to be wearing red shorts when you're live looking at it, through the camera, it could suddenly appear to be a slight shade of green or something. That is a big problem.
In the time that we've got left, what advice would you give to somebody starting out to help them become better?
Try and get some experience with an experienced cameraman. As a helper, as a sort of an assistant for him, because that way you can see how it should be done and hopefully learn from that.
And for people that want more information about the Guild, where can they go on the web?
Go online.
What's the web address?
The web address is gtc.org.uk.
That's gtc.org.uk, and Rex Palmer is a lighting cameraman freelance here in the UK. And Rex, thanks for joining us
Thank
today.
you.
Take care.
It's time for a BuZZ flashback, 5 years ago today.
I think the audience is going to start to look at different sites in the sense of channels, of what can I expect when I go there. And what we're hoping to do at Festival of Films is to create different audience groups and to provide them what that group would like to see. And so within our site, you'll find the particular type of entertainment that you're looking for, the particular type of documentaries or information that you're looking for.
This was a BuZZ flashback.
It's been an interesting time here at BVE, and I've enjoyed listening to our guests talk, because I've learned not only how the US and the UK are similar, I'm also hearing how they're different. We use the same gear because they're made by the same manufacturers, but we use them in different ways for different audiences and for different purposes. And taking a closer look at media inside the UK is what this week's show is all about. I want to thank our guests tonight, Daniel Sacchelli, the event manager for BVE, and Simon Tillyer, the managing director for KitPlus, and Rex Palmer, a freelance lighting cameraman, each for their own perspective on the industry. There's a lot of history in our industry, and it's all posted to our website at digitalproductionbuzz.com. Here you'll find thousands of interviews, all online and all available to you today. And remember to sign up for our free weekly show newsletter. Talk with us on Twitter at DPBuzz and Facebook at digitalproductionbuzz.com. Our theme music is composed by Nathan Doogie Turner, with additional music provided by smartsound.com. Text transcripts are provided by Take One Transcription. Visit takeone.tv to learn how they can help you. Our supervising producer is Serena Catania. Our BVE coverage was produced by Debbie Price. Our production team is led by Brianna Murphy, and thanks to our team here at BVE at KitPlus. My name is Larry Jordan, and thanks for joining us for the Digital Production Buzz at BVE in London.
The Digital Production Buzz was brought to you by Otherworld Computing, providing quality hardware solutions and extensive technical support to the worldwide computer industry since 1988. And by ImagineProducts.com, specializing in workflow applications for over 25 years.
If you'd like to see more videos like this one, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. To stay connected and receive updates from the Buzz, sign up for our free weekly newsletter now. Or you can learn more about us on our website. And thanks for watching the Digital Production Buzz.